Shalom, shalom, Israel, shalom to the Torah, Shazi Yasha'Allah. Giving, of course, all honor, glory, and praise unto Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. That's all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahawah. In the name of the begotten Son, YAHAWASHI. This is your brother Yasha'Allah coming back with y'all with another video. The last video got shut off by accident. I was going to bring out some more presets, some more points, but, I just left it there. That was the Most High's will. But in this video, I like to get into basically the enemy, when the enemy shall come in like a flood, right? So I get that from Isaiah, right? Let's go to the book of Isaiah, right? It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 59, right? Isaiah 59 and verse 16, right? It says, "And he saw that there was no man, and wondered that there was no intercessor. Therefore his arm brought salvation unto him, and his righteousness is sustained him." Right? "For he put on righteousness as a breastplate, and an helmet of salvation upon his head. And he put on the garments of vengeance for clothing, and was clad with zeal as a cloak." Right? Now, hey, you can put this on too. Right? If you're an Israelite, so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American, in this truth, and you might as well put this on, right? And this is symbolic, right? Basically, the righteousness as a breastplate and the helmet of salvation upon your head, right? And to fight against who? Spiritual demon Satan, right? And his devils, all right? And you read about that in Ephesians chapter 6, put on the whole armor of God. Verse 18, "According to their deeds, accordingly he will repay. Fury to his adversaries, recompense to his enemies. To the islands he will repay recompense. To the Lord he's going to render to every man according to his deeds, according to his work." Right? Verse 19, "So shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood." So when the enemy comes in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against them. So the enemy will come in like a flood, man. That's going into Esau's military. You know how Esau comes in with the guns, right? He comes in with the guns, with the hand signals. You've probably seen it in the movies. Comes in with the guns and the hand signals, and the FBI, they kick down the door and using their tactics. They practice that every day. Let's go to the book of Micah. This is the book of Micah, chapter 2. Micah chapter 2, verse 1. "Woe to them that devise iniquity, and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand." So in the first case, it's talking about, Israel, actually. But in another fold, it's talking about Esau. Because what? In the morning is light, they practice it. They practice evil. That's Esau. In the morning, Esau gets up, grabs his gun, starts, going outside and shooting stuff, practicing, shooting in all these drills and stuff, right? We wake up, we're praying to the Lord, and here goes Esau shooting up stuff, right? Practicing, getting ready for World War III and all this other stuff, all right? Getting ready for the persecution of the saints, man, right? But it says that the enemy shall come in like a flood, and that's going into Esau's military, man, coming in, right? Looking like a flood. But the Lord, hey, if you're part of the elect, the Lord said you don't have to worry about that, right? This is the book of Isaiah chapter 17 and verse 12. "Woe to the multitude of many people, which make a noise like the noise of the seas." So you see that these men are referred to as a sea, right? Because they make the noise of the sea. They're roaring, right? All roaring like a damn, like a flood, right? "And to the rushing of nations that make a rushing like the rushing of mighty waters." Like, you went to Niagara Falls or something, that's in many waters. Hey, Yahawah's voice is like many waters, Verse 13, "The nations shall rush like the rushing of many waters, but the Most High shall rebuke them, and they shall flee far off, and shall be chased as the chaff of the mountains before the wind, and like a rolling thing before the whirlwind." You see that? So these nations, they're going to be ashamed. They're going to be dismayed, as the scriptures say. All right? But the enemy shall come like a flood. But the Lord said that what? Let's go back to Isaiah chapter 59, verse 19. It says, so shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. Meaning that what? The Lord's going to fight against him, man. The Lord is going to fight against these heathen, and namely the so-called white man, Esau, that comes in like a flood against his elect, right? The Lord is going to give power to his elect too, all right? But that's just showing you that these nations, they're referred to as a flood, all right? Because let's go to the book of Luke. And Esau is the number one enemy, man, right? The number one enemy is not Moab, right? Even though he's on the list, but it's not Moab. It's not us, right? It's not the Israelites. The number one enemy is Esau, man, on the earth. That's the number one enemy, and people don't even know that, right? This is Luke chapter 21 and verse 25. And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth, distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. So are these seas, right, and these waves, are these talking about like just, you know, literal waves? They're just roaring, you know, they're just going being tossed to and fro. It's not just talking about the waves of water, of physical water. It's talking about these nations too. These nations being arising, you know, having uproars. The Lord said, when there shall be uproars of the people in the world. Let's get second Esdras. Look at second Esdras chapter 9 and verse 3. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world. That's the uproar of the people. When it says that the nation, or the waves and the seas are roaring with perplexity, right? That's what that's talking about. It's not just talking about the actual waves, man. All right? Because remember, this book is written in symbolic language. All right? So let's go to the book of, just prove that real quick. All right, not everything is literal in the Bible. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 49 and verse 3. My tongue shall speak of wisdom, and the meditation of my heart shall be of understanding. I will incline mine ear to a parable. I will open my heart, my dark, a saying upon the harp. See that? So there's dark sayings and meditation, and there's dark sayings and parables in these scriptures, right? So not everything is going to be plain upon tables. You know, you have to be revealed that knowledge through the Spirit of the Most High, all right? So there's parables in this book. This is Sirach 39 and verse 2. He will keep the sayings of the renowned men, and where subtle parables are, he will be there also. You know, Yahawashi, he always speak in parables, right? The disciples were like, hey, why speakest thou in parables? Right? They asked Yahawashi that, you know, because he was speaking in all these dark sayings, right? That was hard to understand, right? I believe in the book of John, the 6th chapter, it says, right? Yeah. All right, so this says John chapter 6 and verse 56. It says, he that eateth my flesh and drinketh my blood dwelleth in me, and I in him. As the living Father hath sent me, and I live by the Father, so he that eateth me, even he shall live by me. This is that bread which came down from heaven, not as your fathers did eat manna, and are dead. He that eateth of this bread shall live forever. These things said he in the synagogue, as he taught in Capernaum. This is Yahawashi talking, you know, talking about his body, right? Talking about to eat his flesh and to drink his blood. Now that's not literal. That's not literal. That's symbolic, right? Eat the Passover first of all, and to consume Yahawashi, right? Consume this book. You know, read it, right? Consume the knowledge, right? That's what that means. Verse 60. But let's see what happened. Many therefore of his disciples, when that heard this, said, "This is a hard saying. Who can know it?" Or who can hear it? You see that? It says, "This is a hard saying." So Yahawashi, he spoke in hard sayings. This book is full of hard sayings, man. Right? But it says, "Who can hear it?" Meaning that what? Who can understand it? Because they heard Yahawashi. But when it says, "Who can hear it?" that's going into who can understand what he's really saying. Right? Because Jake could be like, "I hear you, I hear you." Right? That means that what? He understands what you're saying. Right? So these people, even though they, heard the physical words of Yahawashi, they didn't get what he was saying. So many of them left, right? Many of them left, right, when you read that account. So come back to the subject. The enemy shall come in like a flood, right? It's the book of Psalms, chapter 18 and verse 4. It says, "The sorrows of death compassed me, and the floods of ungodly men made me afraid." So the sorrows of death compassed me, and the floods of ungodly men made me afraid. What is the floods? It's not an actual flood, right? It's talking about the gang, the multitude, man, right, of these ungodly men, these heathen, right? They're a wave, right, coming to consume, But the Lord, he can put a stop to that wave. All right, the Lord, he controls the water. I read about that in Job. All right, I believe also in 2 Samuel 22. It's a book of songs. 2 Samuel chapter 2 and verse 4. "I will call on the Lord, who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from mine enemies." Right, you have to call upon the name of the Lord, man, when you're in distress. Psalms 15:15, "And call upon me in the day of trouble. I will deliver thee, and thou shalt glorify me." Right? Verse 5. And that's talking about the Israelites. All right, you can't be a heathen, all right, and try to call upon the name of the Lord and expect to be saved. No. That's for the Israelites, right? Because let's go to the book of Acts real quick. It's the book of Acts, chapter 2, and verse 21. It says, "And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be saved. Ye men of..." So it says whosoever, right? It says, "Whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be saved." Right? Now let's see if that applies to everybody or just the Israelites. Verse 22. "Ye men of Israel, hear these words." So you men of Israel, hear these words. This message is directed to you, nobody else. "Yahawashi Nazareth, the man approved of God among you, by miracles, wonders, and signs, which God did by him in the midst of you, as ye yourselves also know." Right? So that message was directed to the Israelites. All right? Also, let's get an example in Psalm chapter 18 and verse 40. Right? So, proving that I'm proving right now that that's talking about the Israelites, to call upon the name of the Lord and you'll be saved. Right? Psalms chapter 18 and verse 40. "Thou hast also given me the neck of mine enemies, that I might destroy them that hate me." Right? This is David talking. "They cried, but there was none to save them, even unto the Lord. But he answered them not." So that's not talking about everybody. Because they cried unto the Lord. They cried unto Yahweh. Yet they still didn't get saved. You see that? So that's talking about the Israelites. All right? They're granted the deliverance. They're granted the chance to get saved. 2 Samuel chapter 2 and verse 5. "When the waves of death compass me, the floods of ungodly men make me afraid." What is the floods of ungodly men? That's just going into what? The ungodly men coming in like a flood. Like how the flood or a tsunami would come in. Right? That's how, that's the symbolic speech and parabolic speech, man, in the scriptures. All right? So that's, that's really what that's going into. Esau coming in like a flood, with his guns, his weapons of mass destruction, coming in, and nobody can't stop him. But guess what? The Most High can stop him. All right? Because he's able to do everything. Let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 59. And verse 1. Behold, the Lord's hand is not shortened, that it cannot save, neither his ear heavy, that it cannot hear. So it says that the Lord's hand is not shortened, that it cannot save. So he can save anyone he wants, right? That, he gave the salvation to Israel, of course, right? But, when Esau comes in like a flood, it's not like the Lord's hand is shortened, that he can't save. The Lord's hand is not short. He's not, that means that what? He's all powerful. So it's not like the Lord lacks the power to save you, So when the enemy comes in like the flood, and also the Lord said that he will lift up a standard against them. You mean he's going to fight against these nations, right? That's multiple prophecies. All right? Well, with that, I'd like to give all honor and glory and praise unto Yahawah, BAHASHAM, Yahawashi, Lord willing, this was edifying. Shalom.